Here comes the news of the week. The UP government has amended its Dairy Development and Milk Production Promotional Policy 2022 to significantly increase subsidies aimed at attracting investments in the dairy sector. The revised policy now offers a 35% subsidy up to Rs 5 crores for establishing new dairy units or upgrading existing ones. Previously, the subsidy was capped at 10%. Additional incentives include a 35% subsidy up to Rs 2.5 crore for modernizing dairy plants, Rs 1 crore for purchasing machinery and equipment, and Rs 1 crore is available for setting up cold chain infrastructure for dairy products. The key industry insight remains as this policy revision positions UP as a more attractive destination for dairy sector investments, potentially leading to increased production, enhanced supply chain infrastructure, and greater competitiveness in both domestic and exports market. Rich country dairy producers are shielded by subsidies and quotas while promoting sustainability, often blaming developing nations for emissions from low input farming. India faces a dilemma: either cut livestock numbers or drastically change rural livelihoods to meet Western climate standards, both politically and socially challenging. Lowering tariffs would also disadvantage Indian farmers who can't compete with cheaper subsidized imports. The sustainability narrative often serves as a strategic tool for market dominance and diplomacy, as Western dairy giants emit more than many entire countries but scrutinize smallholder systems abroad. Ignoring local livelihoods and carbon benefits from grazing systems risks unfairly targeting low-income nations. Any global trade or climate policy on dairy must balance emissions concerns with the reality that for billions, especially rural Indians, milk is essential for food and income security. India's dairy integration into global trade must be strategic, prioritizing rural livelihoods while protecting farmers from unfair competition. Heritage Foods Limited, a prominent Indian dairy company, reported a 15% year-on-year increase in its fourth quarter profit, reaching 628.8 million rupees for the quarter ending March 31, 2025. This growth is attributed to a 10% rise in operational revenue, totaling 10.48 billion, driven by robust demand for dairy products such as paneer and curd, especially in rural areas. The company's value-added product segment, including items like flavored milk and yogurt, contributed 32.5% to the total revenue, up from 30.1% in the previous year. This shift indicated a strategic move towards higher margin products in response to increasing health consciousness among consumers. In May, Heritage Foods acquired 7.1 million shares of its joint venture, Heritage Novendi Foods, from its French partner Novendi for Rs 85 million. This acquisition led to certain one-time impairment charges but is expected to strengthen the company's position in the value-added dairy segment. French food conglomerate Danone is in discussions to double its stake in Indian Greek yogurt and fruit desserts brand Epigamia from 30% to 60%. This move involves acquiring the 30% share currently held by Belgian private equity firm World Invest. Both Danone and World Invest presently hold approximately 30% each in Epigamia's parent company Drum Foods International. The negotiations are in exploratory stage, with no definitive decision on whether World Invest will fully divest or partially dilute its stake. Notably, other potential investors have shown interest in World Invest share, which could lead to competitive bidding and influence the final valuation. As of December 2023, Epigamia was valued at Rs 1,250 crores. Danone's potential increase in stake underscores the growing importance of India's health and wellness food segment. Recent genetic research has revealed that East Asian populations began developing lactase persistence, the ability to digest lactose into adulthood, before the advent of cattle domestication and dairying practices in the region. This finding challenges the traditional gene culture co-evolution model, which posits that lactase persistence evolved primarily in response to the consumption of dairy products following the domestication of milk-producing animals. The study suggests that in East Asia, genetic adaptation for lactose digestion may have occurred independently of or prior to the cultural practices of animal husbandry and milk consumption. This indicates a more complex evolutionary pathway for lactase persistence, involving factors beyond direct dietary pressures from dairy consumption. The key industry insight remains as dairy producers and marketers should consider these genetic variations when developing products and strategies for diverse populations, potentially expanding offerings of lactose-free or alternative dairy products to cater to varying consumer needs. A recent report by the Changing Markets Foundation reveals that major global dairy companies are inadequately addressing methane emissions, a potent greenhouse gas contributing significantly to climate change. Animal agriculture accounts for 32% of global methane emissions, with cattle farming being a primary source. Despite this, an assessment of 20 leading dairy and coffee shop chains, collectively representing nearly half of the $420 billion global dairy industry, found that most lack specific methane reduction targets, credible action plans, or transparent reporting mechanisms. Among the companies evaluated, Danone emerged as the only one with a methane-specific reduction target. General Mills and Nestle followed, with the latter being the only company to have explicitly supported reducing dairy emission. However, only Danone and Nestle reported actual reductions in emissions. The dairy industry's insufficient action on methane emissions presents both a reputational risk and a missed opportunity for innovation.
ये मुंबई ना सबकी आई जैसी है. किसी के ख्याल भरे हाथों में मिल जाती है, किसी की प्यार भरी बातों में मिल जाती है. ये मुंबई आई जैसी है.
मुंबई मेरी आई तू, प्यार बांटे पाले पोसे और बढ़ाए तू. अनजाने लोग जो हाथ कभी बढ़ाए तो दोस्ती तू सिखाए मेरे दिल में समाए तू. समंदर प्यार से भरे मैं जब भी देता दस्तक, माँ के हाथ का दुलार दे दे दिल को ठंडक. मुस्कुराता हर वक्त हर घड़ी मेरी आई, मेरा शहर मेरी जान बन गई तू.
ये मुंबई ना सबकी आई जैसी है. ये माँ जैसी परवा, ये परवा भी तो आई जैसी है. यहाँ काकी की कहानियों में जाने कब शाम ढल जाती है, काका के कंधे पर सारी थकान गल जाती है. ये धूप में छाव जैसी है, ये आई की गोद जैसी है.
होता वक्त का गुजारा तेरी गोद में, तू सब कुछ है मेरा, मैं बना हूँ तेरी कोख में.
माँ जैसी ममता, आई जैसी मुंबई. मदर डेयरी, माँ जैसी.